Hello, I'd like to welcome you to Animate. So the very first thing to do is when you go to the File menu and go to New, is for this class, always click on Actionscript 3.0 because some of the tutorials say to click on HTML5 Canvas, which is for web design. So just be sure to make a new ActionScript 3.0 because otherwise things will work a little differently and you might get confused. So I'm going to click on ActionScript 3.0 and then I have my new movie so far, my new animation. So Animate is very confusing, especially when you first start. So for this week, just take some time and familiarize yourself with some basic drawing tools and how you can draw on it. And don't worry about too many details, learning how to use a timeline or anything like that. For Animate, it's very important just to go step by step, learn one little bit at a time, and I promise you after a few weeks it will start to make more sense. It is going to be a little bit confusing at first, which is why we're starting very slowly. So just to point out, under Window, if anything disappears or you can't find something that you need, like the toolbar for color, properties, if you can't find anything, those are all available under Window. Right here where it says Essentials, you can set up different workspaces. In the Linda tutorials, it gives you a lot of details on how to set this up. I don't think it's really necessary. I think you can just figure it out. So I like Essentials, but you can use whichever you want. I also like to take this tool panel and I like to move it around. So right now, it's going to be over here. So we're going to start out with just some very simple drawing tools just to understand how this works. So you have a rectangle, an oval, a pencil, a paintbrush tool, and a brush. And under properties is how you can choose all these different things that are available for each stroke, and also the tool panel. So for example, I'm going to draw a circle. So I'm going to click on the oval tool. It's very important to understand the concept of fill and stroke. So the stroke is the outline and the fill is what's inside. And it's good to keep in mind looking at all these different things available on the properties panel. And if you don't understand something, you can fool around with it, or you can just skip over it for now. So I'm going to choose a bright pink stroke and there's a green fill. The stroke is really big. It's 22 points. Okay, that's a big stroke. So look what happens. That's my oval. Okay, now I'm going to make a square or a rectangle. So if I do not want to have the stroke, I can click on here, but you can't really see what I'm about to do because it's off the screen. But I can do it from here too. Alpha means transparent, so you can fool around with that. That becomes very important. This right here, this icon with that red slash, that means none. So now it's going to have a blue fill and no stroke. Okay. So the next thing that's important is to select. Select allows you to change the shape, to manipulate it, to change the color, and to delete things. So when I click on this oval, look what happens. Okay, it gets a little kind of like a grid. That means that that's selected. So I can change the color, I can move it around, I can delete it. I can hit the delete button and just delete it. Okay, so how do you select the whole thing? Okay, I'm going to start over. I'm just going to draw a rectangle over this and delete it, and draw another rectangle and delete it, and draw a rectangle and delete it. Okay, I'm drawing a rectangle with this selection tool. So you draw a rectangle with that selection tool and hit delete. Okay, so if I draw a circle to select all of it, I double click. So now all of it's selected and I can move all of it around. There's also a pencil tool. See, I'm drawing with the stroke. That's the pencil tool. You can make the stroke smaller. There's also at the bottom straighten, smooth, and ink mode. So straighten helps to make it straight, and smooth helps to make the curves more perfect. Okay, I'm just going to select all of these and delete. So there's also a paintbrush tool, and keep noticing that the paintbrush has a fill but no strokes. So some things paint with fills, some paint with strokes. That's a little bit confusing. And down here you can make the brushes different. You can make them bigger, smaller. So these are different things that you can experiment with. So different tools change. They have different things at the bottom you can fool around with, and they have different properties. There's also an eraser tool that you can use. A faucet means you just click on something and it deletes it. You can make the brush bigger. Okay, so that's something else that you can fool around with. So that is pretty much everything you need to know to begin the drawing tools. Oh, I forgot one more thing. There's fill and ink bottle, paint bucket and the ink bottle. The ink bottle changes the stroke, and the paint bucket changes the fills. So I'm just going to show you on a square. Okay, so if I want to change the stroke, I select this ink bottle. I don't like this icon. I think it's very confusing. And then you just click over it and you change it. Okay? So I'm on this ink bottle, and then I just mouse over it and I can change it. So the paint bucket works the same way. Just mouse over it and change it. So that's one way that you can change the stroke and the fill. The other way is to select it and then change it that way. So there's a few different ways to do each thing. So I hope this is enough to get you started.